The woman who jumped into my car claimed her life was in danger.
Please let me in! They're going to kill me!
I didn't believe her until a stranger offered me $1 billion. That's when I realized I had just driven into a nightmare.
The bride appeared out of nowhere. One second, I was driving home alone on a quiet highway. The next, a young woman ran into the middle of the road and nearly threw herself in front of my car. I slammed the brakes. The tires screamed against the pavement. My heart nearly stopped. She stood frozen in front of my headlights, breathing heavily, her clothes covered in dust and signs of a desperate escape. She looked terrified, not nervous, not confused, terrified. Then I noticed something strange. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking behind her, as if she was running from someone. Before I could say a word, she rushed to my car, pulled open the passenger door, and climbed inside. "Please drive," she begged. "They're coming." I should have told her to get out. I should have called the police. Instead, I pressed the accelerator. And that decision changed my life forever. Because less than 24 hours later, I would find myself standing face to face with a man the world believed was a billionaire. A man who offered me $1 billion for information about a missing bride. A man whose true identity would eventually expose a dark secret far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. But at that moment, all I knew was that a frightened young woman was sitting beside me. And somewhere behind us, several black SUVs were getting closer. I didn't know her name. I didn't know why she was running. And I definitely didn't know that helping her would drag me into a nightmare involving greed, betrayal, lies, and a criminal empire hiding behind the image of wealth. The moment she entered my car, my ordinary life was over. For the next few minutes, neither of us spoke. I kept my eyes on the road. She kept looking through the rear window. Every few seconds, she would turn around to check if someone was following us. The fear on her face was real. Whatever she was running from, it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was something serious. A few miles later, I noticed headlights appear behind us. One vehicle, then another, then a third. The young woman saw them too. Her face turned pale. "Faster," she whispered. My hands tightened around the steering wheel. "Who are they?" I asked. She shook her head. "Just drive." The SUVs remained behind us for several minutes before suddenly taking a different road. Only then did she finally relax. I pulled into a small gas station. The place was nearly empty. An old attendant sat inside the shop, watching television. I turned off the engine and looked at the stranger beside me. "All right," I said. "Tell me what's going on." For a moment, she seemed unsure. Then she took a deep breath. "My name is Nia." I nodded. "I'm Daniel." She looked down at her hands. "What I'm about to tell you is going to sound crazy. After everything I had already seen, I wasn't sure anything could surprise me anymore. But I was wrong. Very wrong. My aunt stole someone else's life," she said quietly. I frowned. "What does that mean?" Tears filled her eyes. "There is an old man everyone believes is a billionaire. I had heard of him. Almost everyone had. His face appeared on television, business magazines, news articles. People called him one of the richest men in Africa. His name was Victor King." Nia continued. "My aunt became obsessed with him." "Why?" "Because she wanted his money." I listened carefully. "My aunt believed that if someone in our family married him, we would never struggle again." Something about the story already felt wrong. "Go on." "My aunt discovered a young woman who had been chosen to marry him. I stared at her. And? She made her disappear. I felt a chill run through my body. What? Nia nodded. She hid her. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. You mean, kidnapped her? Nia lowered her eyes. Yes. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The old attendant inside the station laughed at something on television, while outside, my entire understanding of reality seemed to shift. My aunt wanted her own daughter to take that woman's place. I stared at her. You're serious? Yes. Does the old man know? I don't think so. I leaned back against my seat. The story sounded impossible, and yet the fear in her voice felt genuine. So, where do you fit into all this? Nia looked away. Then she revealed something even stranger. I was never supposed to find out. What happened? 3 nights ago, I overheard my aunt talking on the phone. She swallowed hard. She said the real bride was hidden somewhere nobody would find her until after the ceremony. A cold silence filled the car. When my aunt realized I knew the truth, she locked me inside her house. What? They took my phone. My stomach tightened. They wouldn't let me leave. How did you escape? A faint smile appeared on her face. My cousin helped me climb through a bathroom window. For the first time since meeting her, she almost looked proud. Then the smile disappeared. They found out I escaped. I immediately understood why she had been so terrified on the highway. The people chasing her weren't random strangers. They were looking for her, because she knew too much. At that moment, my phone suddenly rang. The sound made both of us jump. Unknown number. I frowned. Nobody usually called me from unknown numbers. I answered. Hello? For several seconds there was only silence. Then a calm voice spoke. A voice that sent chills down my spine. Daniel. I sat upright. Who is this? The caller ignored the question. I believe you have someone who belongs to me. I slowly looked at Nia. She had gone completely still. My heart began pounding. The voice continued. Take very good care of her. Then the call disconnected. And before I could even process what had happened, a message appeared on my screen. A photograph. The picture showed my car, taken only minutes earlier. Someone was watching us. For several seconds, I couldn't move. I stared at the photograph on my phone. It was my car. The same gas station. The same parking spot. The picture had been taken only moments ago, which meant one thing. Someone was close. Very close. What's wrong? Nia asked. Without saying a word, I handed her the phone. The moment she saw the image, the color drained from her face. Oh no. What? They found us. I immediately stepped out of the car and scanned the area. The gas station looked normal. A delivery van was parked near the road. A motorcycle stood beside the shop. An elderly attendant was still watching television. Nothing seemed suspicious. Yet someone had managed to photograph us without being seen. A second message arrived. This time there was no picture, only words. Bring her back. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. Nia looked ready to panic. We need to leave. For once, I agreed. Within minutes, we were back on the road. Darkness had started covering the highway. Neither of us spoke. Both of us were thinking about the same thing. Who was really hunting her? And why? Why were they willing to go this far? An hour later, we reached a small town. I booked a room at an old roadside motel. Nothing fancy. Just a place where we could rest and think. I rented 2 separate rooms. After everything that had happened, neither of us trusted anyone. As I unlocked my room, Nia suddenly spoke. "Daniel." I turned around. "Yes?" "If something happens to me..." I immediately interrupted her. "Nothing is going to happen." She forced a weak smile, then disappeared into her room. That night, sleep refused to come. The stranger's phone call kept replaying in my mind. Around midnight, I finally drifted off. Then someone started banging on my door. My eyes flew open. Bang! 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 I grabbed my phone. 3:17 a.m. The knocking continued, harder this time. My heart pounded. I quietly approached the door. "Who is it?" No answer, only silence. Then another loud bang. I slowly looked through the peephole. Nobody was there. The hallway was empty. A cold feeling settled in my stomach. Something wasn't right. Very carefully, I opened the door. The hallway remained deserted, but something lay on the floor. An envelope. My hands trembled as I picked it up. Inside was a single photograph. I nearly dropped it. The picture showed Nia, sleeping inside her motel room, taken through the window. Someone had been watching her. Someone who knew exactly where we were. At the bottom of the photo was a handwritten message. "You can't protect her forever." I immediately ran toward Nia's room. My fist slammed against the door. "Nia!" No answer. "Nia!" Still nothing. Panic exploded inside me. I grabbed the handle. The door swung open. The room was empty. The bed untouched. The window open. She was gone. For several seconds, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. Then I noticed something on the table. A folded piece of paper. I opened it. The handwriting was hers. "Daniel, I'm sorry. I couldn't drag you deeper into this. They're not after me because of the missing bride. That's only part of the story. There's something much bigger happening, something I haven't told you. If they find you with me, they'll destroy your life. Please stop looking for me. Forget you ever met me. Nia." I read the note twice, then 3 times. My hands clenched into fists, because one sentence stood out more than anything else. They're not after me because of the missing bride. She had been hiding something, something important, something dangerous. And suddenly, I realized the truth. The missing bride wasn't the center of this story. She never was. Whatever secret Nia was carrying was far bigger than a wedding, far bigger than a billionaire. And if powerful people were willing to hunt her across the country, then the truth had to be worth more than money itself. At that moment, my phone vibrated again. Unknown number. The same caller. This time, I answered immediately. "What did you do to her?" The calm voice laughed softly. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "Mr. Daniel, bring me Nia." The man paused. "And I will transfer $1 billion into your account before sunrise." I was speechless. $1 billion. For a woman I had known less than a day. Who exactly was Nia? And why was someone willing to pay that much to find her? I stared at the phone in disbelief. $1 billion. The number sounded ridiculous, impossible. No ordinary person would offer that kind of money for information about a stranger. "Who are you?" I demanded. The man on the other end remained calm. "A man trying to recover what belongs to him." "What does that even mean?" "You'll understand soon." My patience snapped. "No, I won't understand. I don't even know where Naya is." There was silence. Then the man spoke again. "You are either telling the truth," he paused, "or you're a very good liar." The line went dead. I stood alone in the motel room, my heart racing, my mind spinning. Nothing made sense anymore. The missing bride, the aunt, the mysterious phone calls, the black SUVs, and now a $1 billion offer. I looked at the note Naya had left behind. She had said there was something bigger than the wedding, something she hadn't told me. But what? The next morning, I left the motel and began searching. I checked nearby bus stations, taxi stands, restaurants, hospitals. Nobody had seen her. Hours passed. Then something unexpected happened. A black luxury sedan pulled up beside me. The rear window slowly lowered. A man wearing a dark suit looked at me. "Mr. Daniel?" Every instinct told me to walk away. Instead, I stopped. "My employer would like to speak with you." I already knew who the employer was, the so-called billionaire. 20 minutes later, the sedan entered the gates of an enormous estate. The place looked exactly like something from television. Massive fountains, luxury cars, private security, perfect gardens. Everything screamed wealth. The guards opened the doors. I was escorted inside. The mansion was even more impressive. Paintings covered the walls. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. The floor gleamed like glass. Then I saw him. Victor King, the billionaire, the man everyone admired, the man whose face appeared on magazine covers. He sat calmly in a large chair, holding a cup of tea. For a moment, he looked harmless, almost grandfatherly. But his eyes told a different story. They were cold, calculating, dangerous. "Mr. Daniel," he said, "please sit." I remained standing. "What do you want from me?" A small smile appeared on his face. "I believe we've already discussed that." "I don't know where Naya is." "I know." His answer surprised me. "What?" Victor slowly set down his cup. "I know you don't know where she is." I frowned. "Then why bring me here?" He leaned forward. "Because she trusts you." The room suddenly felt colder. "What are you talking about?" Victor studied me carefully. "As soon as she contacts someone, it will be you." I said nothing. The old man smiled again. Then he reached for a remote control. A giant screen lit up. Photographs appeared, dozens of them. Pictures of Nia, pictures of me. Pictures taken from a distance, some from the motel, some from the highway, some from places I didn't even remember visiting. My stomach tightened. They had been watching us far longer than I realized. Victor noticed my reaction. "Impressive, isn't it?" "No." His smile disappeared. For the first time, anger flashed across his face. Mr. Daniel, I am offering you an opportunity most people can only dream about. I folded my arms. What opportunity? He looked directly into my eyes. $1 billion. The number echoed through the room. Again. $1 billion. If Nia contacts you, he slid a card across the table. You call this number. I stared at the card, then back at him. Why is she so important? For the first time, Victor hesitated. Only for a second, but I noticed. Then he answered. Because she stole something valuable. What did she steal? Victor's expression hardened. That information is not your concern. The answer felt wrong. Everything about this meeting felt wrong. If Nia had stolen something, why wasn't the police involved? Why use private security? Why spend billions? Why track people across the country? The questions kept multiplying. Then my eyes drifted toward a bookshelf behind Victor, and something caught my attention. A framed photograph. At first glance, it looked ordinary. But then I noticed the woman standing beside Victor. My heart skipped a beat. I recognized her immediately. Not because I knew her, but because I had seen her picture before. In Nia's aunt's house. She was the woman who had supposedly disappeared. The real bride. The woman everyone believed was missing. Why would Victor proudly display her photograph if he barely knew her? And why did he suddenly look nervous when he noticed me staring at it? At that moment, I realized something terrifying. Victor King was hiding secrets of his own. And for the first time, I began to wonder if Nia had been telling the truth all along. Maybe the wedding wasn't the mystery. Maybe Victor King was. And if that was true, then I had just walked straight into the lion's den. I forced myself to stay calm. The last thing I wanted was for Victor King to realize what I was thinking. If he noticed my suspicion, I might never leave that mansion. So I thanked him for his time, took the card, and pretended to cooperate. Victor seemed satisfied. A few minutes later, one of his guards escorted me outside. The moment the mansion gates disappeared behind me, I pulled over and took a deep breath. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. And it wasn't just a feeling anymore. It was the photograph. Why would Victor keep a picture of the missing bride in his private office? Not only that, the woman in the photo didn't look happy. She looked frightened, almost as if she had been forced to stand there. The more I thought about it, the more uneasy I became. That evening, I checked into another motel several towns away. I didn't use my real name. I paid in cash, and for the first time since meeting Nia, I began investigating on my own. I searched for everything I could find about Victor King. News articles, interviews, business reports, old photographs. At first, everything looked normal. Successful businessman, charitable donor, respected billionaire. Exactly what the public believed. Then I noticed something strange. There were very few records of Victor before 15 years ago. Almost nothing. No childhood photos, no university records, no interviews from his early career. It was as if he had appeared from nowhere. Rich, powerful, and already famous. The discovery sent chills through me. Real billionaires leave footprints. Victor seemed to have erased his. Around midnight, I received an unexpected phone call. Unknown number. My pulse quickened. I answered immediately. Nia? For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then I heard breathing, and finally her voice. Daniel. Relief flooded through me. Where are you? I can't tell you. Are you safe? There was hesitation. No. The answer hit me hard. What happened? Nia lowered her voice. I think they're watching me. I looked around my motel room. Every shadow suddenly felt threatening. Nia, tell me what's really going on. Silence. Then she finally spoke. The woman everyone calls the missing bride. She stopped. What about her? She's my friend. I sat upright. What? I've known her for years. Everything became even more confusing. You said your aunt hid her. I did. Then why didn't you tell the police? A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Because the police aren't the problem. A cold feeling spread through my chest. What do you mean? The people protecting Victor are everywhere. I struggled to process her words. Nia, are you saying Victor is involved? Another silence. Then came her answer. Daniel, Victor is not who people think he is. Those were the exact words I had been afraid to hear. My grip tightened around the phone. What is he? I don't have proof yet. Then why are people risking everything to find you? Nia took a shaky breath. Because I found something I was never supposed to see. My heart pounded. What did you find? Before she could answer, I heard a noise on her end. A door slamming. Footsteps. Voices. Then panic entered her voice. They found me. Nia? I have to go. Nia! Don't trust anyone. The call disconnected. I immediately called back. No answer. Again. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. I sat there staring at my phone, my stomach twisting with worry. Then a message arrived. Not from Nia, from an unknown sender. Attached was a short video. My hands trembled as I pressed play. The footage showed a warehouse. The quality was poor, the camera shaky. But what I saw made my blood run cold. Several young women were being led through a large metal door. Some were crying. Some looked terrified. Others appeared completely defeated. Then the camera moved. For less than 2 seconds, a familiar face appeared. Victor King, standing in the background, watching. The video ended. No explanation. No message. Nothing. I replayed it. Again and again. Each time I became more convinced. Something far darker than a wedding was happening. The missing bride. The fake marriage. The billion-dollar offer. None of it was the real story. It was only the surface. Hidden underneath was something much worse. And somewhere out there, Nia was running for her life because she knew the truth. The question was no longer whether Victor King was dangerous. The question was, how many people had already suffered because of him? And how many more would suffer if nobody stopped him? I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the faces from the video. The frightened women. The warehouse. Victor standing in the shadows. By sunrise, I had made a decision. I wasn't running anymore. I was going to find out the truth. I replayed the video for what felt like the 100th time. This time I focused on the background. Not the people. Not Victor. The building. There had to be something. A clue. Anything. Then I noticed it. For less than a second, a faded company logo appeared on a shipping container. I paused the video, zoomed in. The image became blurry, but a few letters were still visible. It wasn't much, yet it was enough. After several hours of searching online and asking questions around town, I finally found a match. An old shipping facility near the coast, officially abandoned. Unofficially, nobody seemed willing to talk about it. That alone made me suspicious. Late that afternoon, I drove there. The facility sat far away from the city, surrounded by rusted fences and empty land. At first glance, it looked deserted. But it wasn't. Several expensive vehicles were parked near one of the warehouses. Men carrying radios stood near the entrances. Security cameras covered every corner. My heart started pounding. Why would an abandoned facility need so much security? I parked far away and approached on foot. The closer I got, the more nervous I became. One mistake could get me caught. Or worse. As I moved behind a row of shipping containers, voices drifted toward me. 2 guards. They were talking casually. One of them laughed. "The old man is furious." "About the girl?" "Of course." My ears sharpened instantly. "The boss wants her found before tomorrow." "What makes her so special?" The first guard lowered his voice. "I don't know, but whatever she has must be important." The second guard shook his head. "All this trouble over one woman." They continued walking. I remained hidden until they disappeared. Then I carefully moved closer to the warehouse. A side door stood slightly open, just enough for me to slip inside. The moment I entered, a terrible feeling settled over me. The place was enormous. Rows of crates stretched across the building. Workers moved back and forth. Some carried documents, others loaded vehicles. At first, everything seemed normal. Then I noticed something strange. None of the crates had company names, only numbers. Long rows of numbers, almost as if someone didn't want the contents identified. Suddenly, voices echoed from an office above. I quickly hid behind a stack of boxes. The office door opened. Several men stepped out. One of them was Victor. Even from a distance, I recognized him immediately. He looked different now. No smiling. No calm businessman. No friendly billionaire. His face was hard, cold, angry. The mask was slipping. I listened carefully. "We're running out of time," Victor said. One of the men nodded nervously. "We're still searching." "You should have found her already." "We've searched every location." Victor slammed his fist against the railing. "Then search again." The warehouse fell silent. Nobody dared argue. For the first time, I wasn't looking at a wealthy businessman. I was looking at a man used to controlling people through fear. Then Victor said something that changed everything. "If that girl reaches the authorities, everything collapses." My pulse quickened. Everything collapses? What exactly was he talking about? Another man spoke. "She only has copies." Victor's expression darkened. "Copies are enough." My heart nearly stopped. Copies of what? What had Nia found? Victor turned toward the office. Before entering, he delivered one final order. "Find her before she tells anyone what she saw." The door slammed shut. For several seconds, I remained frozen, because I finally understood something. Nia wasn't running because of a wedding. She wasn't running because of her aunt. She wasn't even running because of Victor. She was running because she possessed evidence. Evidence powerful enough to destroy everything Victor had built. And that meant the truth was bigger than I had imagined. Much bigger. Just then, my phone vibrated. The sudden sound nearly made me jump. I looked down. One new message. No sender name, no number, only a location pin. Attached was a short sentence. If you want the truth, come alone. Underneath it was a name. Nia. I stared at the message, my heart racing. After days of searching, she had finally contacted me. But something felt wrong. Very wrong. Because if Nia truly sent the message, how did she know I was inside Victor's warehouse? And if she didn't send it, then someone else was waiting for me. Someone who knew exactly where I was. For a long moment, I stared at the message. My instincts told me not to go. Everything about it felt dangerous. Yet if there was even a small chance that Nia had sent it, I couldn't ignore it. I slipped out of the warehouse and returned to my car. The location pin led to a remote area several hours away. No towns, no businesses, nothing. Just miles of empty road. As the sun began to set, I finally reached the destination. An old farmhouse stood alone in the middle of nowhere. Half the windows were broken. The roof looked damaged. The place appeared abandoned. I parked a safe distance away. For several minutes I remained inside the car watching. Nothing moved. No lights. No people. No vehicles. Finally, I stepped out. The silence was unsettling. Even the wind seemed quieter than normal. I approached the house carefully. The front door hung slightly open. My heart pounded as I pushed it wider. The inside was dark. Dust covered the floor. Broken furniture lay scattered around the rooms. At first glance, nobody seemed to be there. Then I heard a sound. A faint cry, coming from upstairs. I followed it. Each step made the wooden staircase creak beneath my feet. The sound grew louder. Someone was definitely inside. I reached the second floor. At the end of a hallway stood a locked door. The crying was coming from behind it. Without thinking, I kicked the door. Once. Twice. On the third attempt, it burst open. Inside sat a young woman. Her hands were tied, her face covered in tears. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then her eyes widened. "Who are you?" "I'm Daniel." The moment I said my name, relief flooded her face. "Nia told me about you." I froze. "You know Nia?" "Yes." My heart raced. "Where is she?" The woman shook her head. "I don't know." I quickly untied her hands. The moment she stood up, she nearly collapsed. She had clearly been trapped there for days. Then she revealed something that made my stomach turn. "My name is Ava." The name meant nothing to me, until she added one more sentence. "I'm the bride they've been looking for." For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The missing bride. The woman Nia claimed had disappeared. She was real, and she had been hidden inside this farmhouse the entire time. "Your aunt did this?" I asked. Ava nodded. "Her and several others." "Why?" Tears filled her eyes. "Because I refused to marry Victor." The answer shocked me. "What?" I told them no. Ava looked toward the window. "They promised me he was a billionaire." Her voice trembled. "But I discovered the truth." A chill crawled down my spine. "What truth?" Ava looked directly at me. "The truth that got me kidnapped." I waited. Then she spoke the words I would never forget. Victor isn't a billionaire. My pulse quickened. What do you mean? He owns some businesses, but most of his wealth is fake. The room suddenly felt smaller. He uses borrowed properties. Borrowed? Ava nodded. Most of the mansions don't belong to him. I immediately remembered the estate, the luxury cars, the security, the image of success. Could all of it really be a lie? Ava continued. He spends years building trust. Trust for what? Her eyes filled with fear. Then she lowered her voice. To find victims. My stomach tightened. What kind of victims? Before she could answer, another voice spoke from the doorway. Exactly the question you should be asking. Both of us spun around. My heart nearly stopped. Nia stood there, alive, exhausted, and holding a folder tightly against her chest. For a second, nobody moved. Then Ava ran toward her. The two women embraced, both crying, both relieved. After several moments, Nia finally looked at me. You shouldn't have come here. I almost laughed. After everything that's happened, you expected me to stay away? For the first time, a small smile appeared on her face. Then it vanished, because she knew what came next. The truth. The real truth.
She lifted the folder.
This is why Victor wants me. I stared at it. What is it? Nia swallowed hard. The evidence. What evidence? She slowly opened the folder. Inside were photographs, bank records, contracts, passports, and dozens of names. The deeper I looked, the colder I felt. Because these weren't business documents. They were records of people. Women. Young women. Many of whom had vanished. Some had been promised luxury marriages. Others had been offered jobs overseas. None of them had been seen again. My hands trembled as I turned another page. Then another. Then another. The evidence was overwhelming. Victor wasn't looking for a bride. He wasn't trying to protect his reputation. He wasn't even worried about the wedding. Victor was desperate because Nia possessed proof capable of destroying his entire operation. And if these documents became public, his empire would collapse overnight. But there was still one question that haunted me. If Victor wasn't a billionaire, then how had he fooled an entire country for so many years? Nia looked at me, and from the expression on her face, I knew the answer was even worse than I imagined. She took a deep breath, then said quietly, Daniel, Victor isn't the real mastermind. My heart sank. What do you mean? Nia's eyes filled with dread. Someone far more powerful is behind all of this. And that was the moment I realized our nightmare was far from over. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Victor isn't the real mastermind. I looked from Nia to Ava. Neither of them seemed surprised, which meant they had known this for a while. I was the only one still trying to catch up. What do you mean he's not the mastermind? I asked. Nia slowly closed the folder. Victor is dangerous. She paused. But he's not the one who created the operation. A cold feeling settled in my chest. Then who did? Nia and Ava exchanged a glance. Neither wanted to answer. That alone terrified me. Finally, Nia spoke. The person behind everything is someone nobody would ever suspect. My patience was gone. Nia. She looked directly into my eyes. My aunt. The room went silent. I stared at her, certain I had misheard. Your aunt? Nia nodded. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because it sounded impossible. The woman who wanted her daughter to marry a billionaire? The woman who hid the real bride? She was the mastermind? No, I shook my head. Victor controls everything. That's what he wants people to think. Nia opened the folder again. This time, she removed several documents. Look at the signatures. I studied them carefully. My eyes widened. The signatures authorizing payments, property transfers, bank movements, all belonged to the same person. Not Victor, Nia's aunt, Aunt Grace. Suddenly, dozens of things started making sense. Why she was obsessed with the marriage, why she panicked when Nia discovered the truth, why she knew so much about Victor's operation. She wasn't helping him. She was running him. Victor had been the public face, the distraction, the figure everyone focused on. Meanwhile, Aunt Grace stayed hidden in the background, untouchable, invisible, and incredibly wealthy. Ava sat down heavily. When I refused the marriage, she ordered them to lock me away. I stared at her. Why? Because I wasn't important. Ava looked toward the folder. The documents were. The realization hit me immediately. The marriage had never been about love, or even money. It was about control. Aunt Grace wanted access to something connected to Ava's family, something valuable enough to justify kidnapping and murder. Nia removed another document. When she handed it to me, my hands began trembling. It was a bank record. The balance contained more money than I had ever seen in my life. Hundreds of millions. Transferred through dozens of accounts, across multiple countries. These are the profits, Nia said quietly. I felt sick. Years, maybe decades, all hidden behind fake businesses, fake charities, fake marriages. Everything designed to make criminal money look legitimate. Then a noise echoed from outside. A vehicle. Then another. Then another. Everyone froze. My heart dropped. Nia rushed to the window. The color immediately drained from her face. They found us. I moved beside her. Several black SUVs were approaching the farmhouse. Fast. Too fast. There was no time. Ava looked ready to panic. What do we do? Nia grabbed the folder. We leave. We ran downstairs. The engines outside grew louder. Headlights swept across the walls. They were already here. The moment we reached the back door, tires screeched outside. Men shouted orders. The hunt was over. They knew exactly where we were. We sprinted across the fields behind the farmhouse. Branches scratched our faces. Mud slowed our feet. But we kept running. Behind us, flashlights appeared. Voices, dogs, more vehicles. The chase had begun. For nearly an hour we ran through darkness, until we finally reached an abandoned church near a small village. Exhausted, we collapsed inside. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Then Nia suddenly began laughing. A quiet laugh, the kind people make when they've been under too much pressure for too long. I looked at her. What's funny? She wiped tears from her eyes. They're finished. I frowned. What? She held up her phone. A small smile appeared on her face. While we had been running, she had uploaded every document, every photograph, every bank record, every piece of evidence, to multiple journalists, multiple authorities, multiple organizations. The truth was already spreading. Even if they caught us now, it was too late. For the first time since meeting her, Nia looked free. Then my phone suddenly vibrated. A news alert. I opened it. My eyes widened. The headline read, "Businessman Victor King arrested during national investigation." Another alert appeared seconds later, then another, then another. The story was exploding across the entire country. Victor's empire was collapsing, but one problem remained. Aunt Grace, the real mastermind, and she was still missing. Somewhere out there, watching everything fall apart. And unlike Victor, she had nothing left to lose. The church remained silent except for the sound of our breathing. Outside, dawn was beginning to break. For the first time in days, it felt like we had won. Victor had been arrested. The evidence was public. Journalists were exposing the truth. Authorities were launching investigations. Everything Nia had risked her life to reveal was finally coming to light. But something didn't feel right. Aunt Grace was still missing, and people like her didn't simply disappear. They made one final move. My phone vibrated, then Nia's, then Ava's, all at the same time. A new message, unknown sender. Only 3 words. Come alone. Attached was a location. Nia stared at the screen. I already knew who sent it. Aunt Grace. Ava looked terrified. "It's a trap." "It probably is," I said. Nia slowly stood. "But if we don't go, she'll disappear forever." Nobody argued, because we all knew she was right. 2 hours later, we arrived at the location, an unfinished luxury resort near the coast. Construction had stopped years ago. Half-completed buildings stretched across the property. The place looked like a ghost town. We contacted authorities before entering, but we couldn't wait for them. If Grace escaped, she might never be found again. We moved carefully through the empty structure. Room after room, floor after floor. Nothing. Then we reached the rooftop. And there she was, Aunt Grace, standing near the edge. Calm, elegant, as if none of this had affected her. As if her empire wasn't collapsing around her. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Grace smiled. "Mia." Nia's face hardened. "It's over." Grace laughed. "No." She slowly shook her head. "It's never over." Ava stepped forward. "You destroyed people's lives." Grace looked completely unbothered. "You think the world rewards kindness?" Nobody answered. She pointed toward the city skyline in the distance. "Everything you see was built by people willing to do whatever was necessary." Her voice remained calm, cold, almost emotionless. Then she looked at Nia. "You could have been rich." Mia stared back. "I'd rather be poor than become you." For the first time, anger flashed across Grace's face. The mask cracked, just for a second. Then she smiled again, a dangerous smile. "You still don't understand." My instincts immediately warned me. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Then Grace reached into her handbag. Everyone froze. But she didn't pull out a weapon. She pulled out a small flash drive and smiled. "The documents you released were only part of the operation." My heart dropped. "What?" Grace looked pleased. "As smart as you think you are, Nia, you never found everything." The confidence in her voice was terrifying. Then she revealed her final card. There were more accounts, more partners, more names, people far more powerful than Victor, people in positions of influence, people who had helped protect the operation for years. The flash drive contained everything, and Grace knew it. Nia stared at her. "What do you want?" Grace held up the drive. "A deal." Nobody moved. "A deal?" I repeated. Grace nodded. "You let me leave." She raised the drive slightly. "And you get the evidence." The offer shocked me. She was bargaining for her freedom. Even now. Even after everything. Nia's eyes filled with disgust. "You really think we're going to let you walk away?" Grace smiled. "I think you're running out of options." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then something happened that Grace didn't expect. Police sirens echoed across the coastline. Her smile vanished. Several helicopters appeared overhead. Authorities were arriving from every direction. The resort was surrounded. For the first time all day, Grace looked afraid. The realization hit her. There was no escape. Not this time. Not ever. Nia slowly stepped forward. "Give me the drive." Grace looked around desperately, then at the approaching officers, then back at Nia. For a long moment she said nothing. Finally, she handed it over. The moment the flash drive left her hand, something inside her seemed to break. The game was finished. Minutes later, officers reached the rooftop. Grace was arrested. So were dozens of her associates over the following weeks. The flash drive led investigators to hidden accounts, secret partners, and crimes stretching across multiple countries. Everything collapsed. The fake billionaire empire, the trafficking network, the corrupt businesses, the lies, all of it. Months later, life finally began returning to normal. Ava reunited with her family. Nia became known across the country for exposing one of the largest criminal operations in recent history. As for me, I went back to my ordinary life. At least, I tried to. One afternoon, months after everything ended, I met Nia at a small cafe. Neither of us had seen each other in weeks. We talked, laughed, remembered everything we had survived. Then she smiled. "You know something?" "What?" "If I hadn't run into the road that day," she paused, "none of this would have happened." I smiled. If I hadn't stopped the car, I never would have believed any of it. For a moment we sat quietly, thinking about how one decision had changed everything. One frightened stranger. One stop on a lonely road. One secret. And a truth powerful enough to bring down an empire. Sometimes the people who look like they need saving are the very people who end up changing your life. And sometimes the biggest danger isn't the monster everyone can see. It's the one hiding behind a familiar face. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful African tales filled with shocking secrets, betrayal, suspense, and unforgettable twists. Share this story with your friends and tell us in the comments, what would you have done if a runaway bride suddenly jumped into your car? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.